All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Let's Talk Real Life with Miss Nada Manning. This is WBISLP 106.9. You can find us on GPAT 23, broadcasting there. You can find us on Facebook, Awesome Radio. You can find us on YouTube, Awesome Radio. You can find us on Roku Television, Awesome Radio. But we are glad you have found us here today. Thank you to our regular listeners. Thank you to our subscribers. Please like, share, and subscribe if you like. Maybe this information would be beneficial to your friend group or family circle. So thank you once again. Now, let's go right to the show. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Let's Talk Real Life with Nada Manning. Miss Nada Manning, how are you?
Hello, I am doing well. We are in the position, folks, to talk about something that's fresh, um, something that might hit your fancy and it might not. But the topic is going to be on head to toe. Head to toe. What in the world does that mean? Head to toe. Okay, now, first thought on head to toe was probably what? Literally from the top of your head to your feet, your whole body. This left, right, up and down, back, front, the whole nine. So we're going to hit some topics pertaining to the head to toe that hopefully you'll be able to relate to. And we welcome your comments in Messenger or however way you want to send us something just to address your concerns, your yay or nay, and you like or you didn't like it, all of that. So, as we get started, we are going to focus on body changes. Body changes, head to toe in 2023. And yes, I'm going to go back a few years because I can. I'm not going to go way, way, way back, but it's still head to toe. So mind changes. What way of life has changed today? The way of life has changed for all of us. So as we look into this head to toe, we want to look at the outer appearance. We're talking outward appearances. What's on the outside? What do you see head to toe? What do you see when you first lay eyes on a person? You don't know them. You just laying eyes on them. You might be just passing them on the street or sitting on the bus with them, sitting at the train station, sitting in church. Head to toe. First impression. Now,
Yeah.
some folks say first impression is a good thing.
Or everything.
First impression is everything.
Yeah, I think that's the term. Not automatically a good thing.
First impression is everything.
Hmm.
Okay, let's take that for example. Let's just mold that around in our head just a little bit. First impression is everything. What I see is what I see. Now, what you might see and what I might see might be two different things. So how can
Hmm.
that be everything? I'm
Well,
just
that's
being
the
a devil.
saying.
I'm being a devil's advocate right now.
Yeah, right, right.
And if we're going to say that, first
Hmm.
impression, okay, well, I see this guy or this girl with some fancy hairdo. Then today they're wearing green hair, yellow hair, orange hair, red hair, purple hair, blue hair. Okay, everybody. Some people might see a different color because some of us are colorblind. First impression is everything. When you see someone with that color hair, it might be spiked, like some of the guys like to have this spike. I don't know what kind of style that is, but it's sticking straight up, stiff. First impression is everything. I think that probably spells out one's view of that individual, because what you see, yeah, is everything that you see. Now, that does not mean that that person is just that the way they look. So to say that is everything, I know that's what's said. That is the cliche that's out there. First impression is everything. Okay. But that style of hair can be a turn off for some and a turn on for others. How so? Tattoos on the ears and on the nose and on the jaws, on the eyebrows, and rings in the nose and all of that. This is the head. We're talking the hair, the head, the whole look. To me, as a senior, it's a turnoff, because that first impression that I get is, and they could not very well be, but this is what I'm seeing. They might not be uneducated or homeless. That just might be the way they want to be, and could be smart as a whip, A students in school. But that first impression, that hair, that's my opinion. So what do you do? That first impression sometimes can be a turn off, and like I said, sometimes it can be a turn on for others, depending on the way you look at it. Should you shun that individual just because they're looking the way they're looking? We're talking head to toe. Now, you're only looking at the head. We're not in a position to look inside the head, so we don't know what kind of brain status they have. Like I said, they could be smart as a whip, or the lack thereof. I don't want to use the word dumb, but let's just say the lack of educational quality. You never know. So what do? You is that called judging, or you just calling it like you see it? What is the difference? We're not supposed to judge. Sometimes it's a thin line between judging and what I say calling it like you see it. I see and it's boys and girls, young men, young adults, and women with the spike hairdo, with the earrings and stuff. You know, it's one thing to have earrings in the ear, but the nose, earring on the eyebrow, earrings on the lip. That's kind of categorizing head to toe. We know that it's more of that today. Back in my day, there was none of that. There was no colored hair. Some folks had earrings, but not a whole lot of us. But we certainly didn't wear it in our nose and in our lip and in the eyebrows sticking up there. On the side of the nose, we didn't have any of that. Am I knocking it? No, we're just talking about what's today. Head to toe. And everything in between. I just started with the hair because that's the head part. You have a comment, Coach, about the head?
Well, I'll say this.
Just the head now. We're not going below yet.
No, I ain't talking about I'm just speaking in general. Psychiatrists, psychologists say that we all wear masks. And what mask we want to put on is related to our culture, it's related to our affiliation, our social class that we think we are in. Some masks are related to the message that we want to send to other people. I mean, and it could be a message that you're a powerful human being, you're a gladiator, you are an official, you are a straight cut law enforcement officer looking person, you are a freestyle, free hair, free bird. Those are things that are related to the mask that we put on. And when it comes to you looking in the past, I would say there are more things we use as social cues and communication as to how we want to demonstrate who we are than there were in the past. It might be just what we use. There might have been just as many um, languages or words or phrases in your generation. I know one thing about your generation when it comes to identifying somebody, that when you first meet them, they're going to say, the baby boomers are going to say, where you from? What you doing? Who your family? What city? What town? So those are cues there to, oh, you with that family. You with the Joneses. Those are things that you used when you just talking about initially meeting somebody. In that case, the first impression probably meant more in the older days because there were more rigid ways that you acted and dressed. When it comes to the way you cut your hair, so you're dealing with the head. When it comes to whether you had a beard or not, there's a lot of social cues that came with the first impression. Now, I'm going to say this, and I'm going to turn it back over to you. There's so many more clues and costumes that we wear. We just have more ways to confuse other people, or you have more cues to read about me, clues, if you want to use clues, as to who I am by looking at the way I have my cap, a hat, glasses, shades, earrings, gold teeth in my mouth. You have more things to try and figure out, but whatever you figure out might not have anything to do with who I am and how I carry myself. So you got a lot more work to do.
Right.
And you could be exactly right or you could be exactly wrong.
And that's why it's so important not to judge a person. You don't judge a book by its cover, so to speak. Because until you read the book, open the pages, not necessarily the whole book, but at least read the introduction of the book to get a general idea, or the table of contents, if you will, to get a general idea of what you're about to learn of this individual or this group. It could be a group of people. So, yeah. So, head to toe. So, let's move down. Now we're going to go on down the body. We're talking about the chest and the waistline, and oh boy.
Let me get one example of somebody that made a living off of throwing us off. This is a guy named Dennis Rodman, played basketball. Dennis Rodman had a social image. He was a hard partier, but he had come in with purple hair, red hair, earrings all in his nose. Now, when it comes to relating to his job and his personal life, they look like two different worlds, and living the way he was showing us in the media did not add up to that. It wasn't looking like he was going to be one of the best basketball players ever.
Right.
But let me finish my thought here. Dennis Rodman did the crazy stuff off the court. But and you can read autobiographies and studies, when that guy showed up to work, Michael Jordan himself said, when Dennis Rodman showed up to practice, he practiced harder than anybody. He got work done. He was one of the best rebounds in the history of NBA sports. So I'm just talking about judgment of appearance of someone. He did that it just didn't line up. Now, he was just as crazy as he was acting, okay, and probably more. And he would say that.
True. That's a fine example, and I agree with you. Dennis Rodman was, I think he was one of a kind in that sport.
Yes.
With the way he looked, because nobody else look the way he looked. But you're right. I agree. He knew his game, and he did well with it. He was one, and as we go down our list of behaviors and inward appearances, he was one of those that it didn't matter what people thought. It did not matter to him what people thought because he knew who he was. He knew what he could do. So yeah, fine example. Yes, I agree with you. Outward appearances, which is what we're talking about right now, with the hair and the nails and the clothes and the dress code and all of that. Inward appearance, what's on the inside? I'd like to stick with a little bit with Dennis Rodman because I think most of us know who he is. Some of us would not know the type of guy that he is, like you just described, unless we read about him. And who's to say that all of that is 100% correct?
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. All of us have people that like us and don't like us. We need to make a decision on whether or not we're going to be people pleasers or not. And whatever we decide to do with ourselves, we're talking head to toe. Now we're talking about the inside. Well, I guess I skipped some of it because we were still on the outside looking at the dress code and all of that going on down the body. So let me back up a little bit. With the dress code, the way people are dressing today versus where they used to dress. They don't have to be back in my day. It could be 20 years ago. I think there's a difference in now and 20 years ago with the dress code. 20 years ago. That was what, 2003? Yeah.
Okay.
2003, or I'll say 2000 itself, the dress code. One thing I think was back then, and it may have been just starting, is the way these young boys are wearing the pants down and half of their posterior is showing. Some of them have their underwear pulled up, and some of them don't. Talking about these guys now. Well, I think it's been a while since I've seen the naked skin, but usually you can see the underwear. The purpose of that is something that I have still not managed to wrap around. And I guess I wouldn't because I'm a woman and I'm a mama. So my oldest son was beginning to do it. So I would say that was probably in the, 90s. That was in the 90s. Yeah, in the 90s, 1990s. I guess that's when it first started out because he started doing it because it was a trend, I guess. Something that's just the way it was. But anyway, it didn't last very long because I guess somebody felt guilty about it or something. But today, it's almost every young adult, young teenager that's doing it. Almost, not all of them, but almost. I guess it depends on it. Well, even that, it don't even depend on what size you are anymore. The thicker guys are doing it just like the thin ones are doing it.
Yep. Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Let me go to a higher level here. What's the difference? And we talk about morality, we talk about being a Christian, we talk about sin, when you talk about image, when you talk about lust, when you talk about observation. What's the difference than a guy having sagging pants and a girl with a skirt too short?
The only difference I see is it's a boy and a girl.
That's it.
Both of them are still exposing themselves
so
unnecessarily to the extreme.
So
yeah.
But what you're seeing is you're seeing the guy with the sagging pants attack more than the girl with the skirt. So what you're looking at is somehow the sagging pants has something to do with the character of the boy or the young man or the man that's doing it. And some things we allow in society, and then some things we don't because just the mere optics. Diabetes is just as harmful to the body and affects our attitudes and destroys us just as much as alcohol and liquor does. So to me, there's no difference between the ice cream shop down the street and the bar. Because if you overindulge in ice cream and you overindulge in beer and alcohol, you killing yourself at the same rate.
Yeah.
So I think looking at it in that respect, it's just how society wants to perceive how we live. You ain't nobody gonna say nothing to you walking away with a double scoop of ice cream or triple thick milkshake like I get when I go to the store down the street. There ain't nobody saying nothing. Man, you sure got a lot. I get double whipped cream sometimes. Man, you sure got a lot. They don't know I'm pre-diabetic. But if you see me walking out with a Miller Lite or a beer, you might look at me some kind of way. But both of them was very harmful to me. You see what I'm saying? So, and I'm not saying we're wrong in the society. I'm just bringing it up on this show that we judge things how we want to see them in the way we want the feedback. The dude with the sagging pants, it used to mean you were available in prison if you were hanging your pants down. That's where they said it came from. I worked in the jail, and I didn't associate anybody that had their jumpsuit down on their waist as being gay. But out on the street, I'm hearing that, oh, if you wear your pants sagging, that means you were gay in prison. So maybe there's a different prison, but it's a status that these boys like, and it's a part of a costume, and they will take negative attention and transpose it into positive attention, just as long as they're getting attention.
So, and saying that, you have these younger boys that have not been to prison.
Yeah.
So what does that say for them? 12, 13-year-olds, 10, 11, 12-year-olds. What?
They pick up a fashion the same way as you picked up one.
Right. And but go ahead.
Micro fashions trends, based on my research on the subject, micro fashions live about 3 to 5 years, some of them. Okay. Meaning a dress code or something that ladies like to wear, or colors. I remember wearing bright colors was so clashy coming up. Okay, now we got lime. You can put on lime green and orange, and ain't nobody gonna laugh at you. But if you wear some lime green, red, when I was growing up as a kid, oh, you classy. I had checkered pants, classy. Larger trends, mega trends can last 30 to 50 years. The sagging pants started in the hip hop era, in the cool wide belt era. It showed your rebellion to the status quo. It showed that you ain't gonna have to have your pants up tight, buckled, shirts in, belt buckled. You know, we're going to be free with our dress code. And so they wound up picking something that would show half their hind parts. And who knows how the girls was treating them behind the scenes. It could be appealing. Certain things are meant to be in private that make it to public, and they only make it there halfway. And now I don't see this big wave of people talking about the girls, because I'm going to bring you up to date right now because I work on a college campus, on campus living, off campus living. You got the girls that's doing the Daisy Dukes, but just shave about 3 or 4 more inches off of the shorts from the Daisy Dukes. And you're going to see the whole curve. You're going to see the whole shape dropping down. Yeah. I don't see no national rebellion against them, but I see it against the guys wearing saggy pants because they're still doing it. I don't like it, but I've caught my pants sagging, and they ain't sagging because I wanted them to sag. They were sagging because I gained some weight and my belt won't in place like it should be. But yeah, so I don't like the discrimination, if you will. Yeah, that might be the right word there. I don't like the discrimination of stigmatizing one group when the other group getting away scot clean.
And when you're talking groups, you're talking about the gender. Okay. So I don't know if the girls are really getting away with it. They might
Huh?
not. Well, wait a minute. Wait a minute.
I'm listening. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I reacted out loud. My bad.
They. When you say getting away with it, that to me, they are, and I'm talking both genders. Nothing is being criminalized for them wearing their clothing the way they are. It's not a crime in the sense of the court system.
Well, I'll say you
But
can't wear bathing suits on certain sides of the street in beach areas, and so you ought not be able to wear them Daisy Dukes with all that backside out if you're not at the beach.
I
And that's a
agree with you.
bathing suit. That's a bathing suit, if you ask me.
I agree with you. I agree. I agree. It is. It is. I'll put it this way. My word is inappropriate. How about that? Putting it clean is inappropriate for the man to wear his, or the boys and the females to do what they're doing. However, it's still the trend today.
Yes.
And to society, it's all right for them to do it that way. Now, morally speaking, neither one of them are correct morally, because yourself should not be exposed that way. But saying all that to say, we're talking about head to folks, head to folks, head to toe, head to toe, folks. That's what we're talking about. We're talking real life here on Let's Talk Real Life. So we're talking about today's concerns, head to toe. The way we dress, it sets a tone for some of us. It sets a person to be feeling some kind of way about that individual that's exposing themselves that way. Now, those of us who are in the parental status with our younger children, we try to encourage them not to do that. Of course, we know after they become a certain age, and probably when they leave home and get into the school segment, then they do what they want to do and pull the pants back down. And the girls probably take their whatever they had on off so they can expose their thighs and what have you. But at least they are respectable enough knowing what to do at home and around home. Can we always control what they do outside of our home? Only by the way we train them. Does not always mean they're going to do it. I'm guilty. I was one way at home, and when I got around school, I was a different person. Was I wild and out there? No. Did I wear Daisy Dukes? No, I did not. But some girls do, and still do. They did it then, and they're doing it now. And the guys, they do what they do. But head to toe sets an example of who we are. Back to Dennis Rodman. What he wore and the way he looked, I take it, I don't know if he was a violent man or not. I don't know that much about him. But we're talking inside our head now. We can look one way outside appearances, but what do we have in our brain? How are we really thinking? How are we really carrying ourselves? Do we carry ourselves in a way that we really look? Or are we more distinguished and more suitable and more acceptable if we care about what society thinks? Some of us, like I said, Dennis Rodman didn't care what you thought. And a lot of people are like that. I don't care what you think of me. I know who I am, the way I am. I don't have to prove anything to anybody. And that's the impression I got from Dennis Rodman and all of those other Dennis Rodmans that are out there. I know who I am, and I don't have to prove anything to you. They have that mentality. It depends on your job. Now, he was a basketball player. Those of us that work in the corporate world, there was a different structure. Military, there was a different structure. But when you were outside of that job, then you do what you do. Right? Right.
Right.
Now, Now we're going to move on to the inward appearance. We talked about the intellect and the mentality, whether you're going to be a leader or a follower. Now, those that are trying to lead, we really have to be very, very careful how we carry ourselves. And I don't think too many people out there can beg to differ. If you're going to lead, you lead by example. And that means you want to try to do the right thing. I say try. Try to do the right things at all times. Carry yourself in such a way where people can look at you and want to follow you. One of the ministers at my church once said, you know whether or not you are a leader if you have a follower. If no one is following you, then who are you leading? If you're not leading anyone, if no one is following you, then, and you're trying to be a leader, then that tells me that something is wrong with your leadership, because no one is interested in what you're offering. No one is trying to do what you do. No one is have the same mentality that you have in whatever it is you're trying to lead, program, group, because you're not being effective. So what do you do as a leader? So are you going to be a leader? Is something wrong with your leadership skills if you don't have any followers? That means you have to change the way you're doing things, I would say, or the way you look. Some people don't want to follow you because you don't look the part. That's when you're an adult. But as children, you have to learn the leadership skill. You're not born that way. You have to learn it. And that's where the difference comes in. When you're growing up to become who you want to become, you have to realize that there are certain things that you want to do, certain things you don't want to do. Now, we are halfway through or 3/4 through. Let's move along. Why does any of this matter anyway? What is the purpose of this head to toe stuff? When you're going on down, we skipped, we got to the pants and the skirts and all of that, and then the only thing left are the shoes on your feet. So there's not a whole lot to be said about that. But that's your whole makeup, your whole outfit. All of that is, what did we say in the beginning, Coach? First impression.
Yeah, first impression is everything.
They looking at you from your head to your toe, unless your mouth is going a mile a minute, and then your mouth got their attention because you're all loud, and sometimes they might take a minute and look down at your feet, and maybe they won't because they're so busy listening at what you're talking about, which many times you have to be careful what you're saying, because other people will take heed to what you're saying, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent. Head to toe. Now, let's move on to why does it matter? Why does it matter? Huh?
Hold on 1 second. I got to say this one bullet.
Okay.
I think that guys may not spend as much on shoes as ladies do, but if they do, it means more to their personality as a teenager. What type of shoes you have on now, it's like an ID badge.
Yeah.
And it gives you status in a group, gives you status at school, status on the team, whether you spend $100, $200, $300. Some Nikes can go up to $5,000. I know my son collects them.
Wow.
So, and there is nothing like,
that's a lot of money for a pair of shoes.
There is nothing like, because they're rare, some of them. Special made, yes. There's nothing like the shoes on a woman that says her personality. I don't see how you can skip how much the shoe and the shoe color and the shoe style mean to a woman. I think is when you say it ain't much to say about that, you might have said that for the sake of time. I'm not picking on you. But that right there, them shoes and the hair of a woman, to me, is almost equal. But that's all I got to say.
I'm not going to disagree with you. I am not going to disagree with you, because most women today, and I'm one of them, we care about how we look. And let truth be told, and I think this can be for both genders. If you don't have on a good, decent pair of shoes that's comfortable, there's nothing that's going to ruin your outfit like hurting feet. If your feet are hurting, trying to be cute. Now, I think women are more guilty of that than guys are. Trying to be cute and your toes hurting because you want this certain pair of shoes and your feet are hurting. You can't be cute and limping. It's just not going to work. So anyway, got your point on the shoes. Yes. I agree. And if you have nothing else to say about our feet and our hair, we'll move on. All right. So yeah, the what were we talking about? We got off a little bit. We were talking about why does it matter? What is the purpose of all of this get up, of all of this style? All of that means a lot and it's outward. But what's on the inside of us? First impressions, we say. Nobody gotten inside of your head yet. They just looking at what's outside.
Right.
So when you start talking, yakking and carrying to it, and the mouth is going, what does that do to that outward beauty? Or just the opposite. It could be not looking so good on the outside and got it going on the inside. You would not know that if you wouldn't take the time to know the person or take a second look, if you will. So then what? Head to toe.
Let me say something about what has happened to me as I have gotten younger in my life. I pay more attention. I find myself paying more attention to how something is said more than the whys and the reasons. I don't know. I think that's because of some of my trauma or traumatic events in my life. It has influenced me, but both male and female, gender wise, it doesn't matter. But I pay more attention nowadays to how something is said rather than what is said. Because we are all experts at throwing shade. We're all experts at insulting each other, even with the truth. And there are some things. It used to mean more to me when somebody says, as long as they're telling you the truth, it doesn't matter how they say it. Well, nowadays we've got all become little scientists and psychologists and psychiatrists ourselves because we got the ability to use so much more information to make our case. We can destroy somebody in our minds and it'll come out of our mouth.
Yeah.
We can literally just telling a little white lie just to save ourselves. You're not supposed to tell everybody everything. And so that's called a little white lie when you a sin of omission, when you don't tell the whole story. You omit some things for the good of that other person.
Yeah.
But I say we have become experts at the English language inflection, at creating an environment, especially children, when it comes to peer pressure. That's like on steroids. The peer pressure of students now, to me, is like the dysfunctional, abusive relationships that I grew up seeing, where the old men was beating their wives and stuff, or the wives, in my case, was beating their men, because I grew up in that type of household. But I'll say the way that we use language nowadays, we know how to destroy and hurt each other more than it was when I was growing up, because I had gotten bullied a lot. And so I know what bad language is. I know kids picked on my clothes because I had a hole under my arm, under my shirt. If you raise your hand, oh, you got a hole in your shirt. Oh, you got on them checker pants. So I experienced a lot of things that should have hurt me more than they did, but it did something to me. Okay, I ain't gonna lie. Yeah. But I see it nowadays. So my point made that people can use language, they can weaponize, you can weaponize the gospel and destroy somebody. The way you preach and go at them, you can do more harm than lead them to Jesus. Which is why you probably should have done to start with and let them take it the rest of the way. But some people will roast you, they will crucify you. And I ain't got no business saying the word crucify because I don't think nobody suffered in the way that Jesus did if he was the one that got it that way. But they did crucify other criminals. But I'm going to leave that alone. I made my point, and that's what I want to say.
Okay. Thank you, Coach. And you're absolutely right. There are some of us that we have a way with words and our tone. I'm guilty. I've said that I don't know how many times. I'm working on it. I think the Lord is blessing me to do a little bit better. But yeah, I can honestly agree with that. It's not so much of what you say, it's how you say it. Mean well, but if it don't come out right, then it just blew your whole effort in saying what you're saying. So I was asking a question about why does it matter for us to about this head to toe? Why does it matter? And again, going back to Dennis Rodman, I said it earlier. It does not matter. It didn't matter what people thought of him, and a lot of us are like that today. I think it's a sign of being independent, and independent is a good thing if you use it in the right way. Being independent. Being careful in a way that you want to present yourself, but at the same time, being positive. A lot of us need to show more of that, I think, of that independence, meaning that we want to be better or get to a certain point in our life. So we find someone that we want to follow. You're frowning. I'm not making any sense.
Yeah, you're doing good. I'm with you.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So yeah, the purpose you're talking about groups and gangs and all of that. That right there is a negative connotation to me. Now, gangs, yes. Groups is a different story because you have different kinds of groups. You have groups that mean well. You have the mentoring session where you're helping people. That's a group. It's a team. Okay. So it's nothing wrong with that in that sense. In that sense, we're talking head to toe, folks. We're talking about how we're presenting ourselves inwardly and outwardly. What comes out of our mouth.
Can I define the word gang? Now, if I look it up, it might say that gangs do negative things. And groups or associations have initiatives that do certain things. But let me parallel. I'm not trying to confuse the audience. Let me pick a real good one. An abortion rights group and the Blood and the Crips.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you see, abortion rights are people who are advocating for the right of a woman to dispose of her child, to manage and make those medical decisions. The Bloods and the Crips are out there rebelling against society, saying our way of life is we make money off of crime. We make money off of selling drugs. We have territories. That's what we want to do. And the police don't want us to do that. Or the opposite gang wants to take over our turf wars. Which one you gonna call association and which one you gonna call a gang? The Bloods and the Crips take their lives. The police take other people's lives. And if you don't believe in them, you can call them a gang. Some people think the government is that way. The government takes our tax money and goes about the world killing people, getting involved in wars. You may or may not agree, but you still gonna pay your taxes. So that's why I use the word gang, because of your association but it's also how people feel about the association. Whether you should take the placenta of a woman when the baby is born and use it to make go donate it to science for other various things. That is stem cell research, but you're taking a part of a human life and you're doing something that's maybe inhuman with it. So you might call that a game. Some people who don't believe in blood transfusions, certain religions, I can't call the religion. I won't call it the one I think that it is. They don't believe in putting blood in other people's bodies. So they might call you a game. Look at what you're doing. You're sinning because you're taking blood that was in somebody else's body and putting it in your own. So that's why I use the word game.
So your point is,
my point is, go ahead. You were about to paraphrase.
The difference. Your point is you're explaining the differences in gangs or teams or groups.
I call them all gangs. You got your church gang, you got your school gang, you got your government gang. Everybody's capable of doing good and bad.
Okay, so the word gang to some people, it depending on their frame of mind. We're talking head to toe here. Their frame of mind, that word gang can have a negative connotation to it. And you're saying not necessarily so. It depends, right? It depends.
Every association can be negative and can be positive. Just don't pick on the word gang and say, oh, the gangs are the street gangs. They're the only ones that are doing wrong. Politicians get together and they make rules and laws that hurt us, that are responsible for people living and dying every day. Sending money to Ukraine, supporting the war. There ain't nobody asked me, did I support the war or not? But I know we sending weapons over there that's killing people. So you see, it's a higher level of consciousness that I'm raising, not that whether you're right or wrong. That's it.
All right. Now, the last point I want to make about inward appearance, I wanted to pull out at least the next 1 minute or two. I wanted to pull out at least 4 things for that inward appearance.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us. We gotta go. We gotta go. We might have to make another show. WBIS LP 106.9.